Hi everyone, I'm Anthony DiMoro. This is another episode of Ranters Insider, and you're tuned in to SportsRantz TV, courtesy of SportsRantz.com. Now before I get going here, I do want to send my thoughts and prayers out to the friends, families, and victims of this past Monday's horrible Boston Marathon bombings. And I want to send my heartfelt thoughts and prayers out to the city of Boston. And before we get into all the sports talk that I have lined up, and I'll be talking NBA playoffs, NFL draft, I'll spotlight somebody from our fanfare section, and I'll be answering your questions in our fan mail segment of the show. But before I do so, I do want to elaborate a little bit on some big news that we announced on SportsRantz this week. And I've been hinting and alluding to it for a couple of weeks now, and I basically emphasized that this would be particularly interesting for sports talk radio and podcast hosts. Well, we announced the news, and it is a video chat / room feature that we are rolling out to everyone, completely free. Everyone who uses SportsRantz.com. So what does this mean if you're a sports talk radio or podcast host? Well, you ever notice that interaction is becoming really vital these days? And it can be hard to do it on Twitter and Facebook. They're both great tools, but let's face it. If you're like me, I follow a lot of people who talk about sports or are sports fans, so sometimes things can get lost in my timeline or my Twitter feed. Same goes for Facebook. Same goes for emails. You just get lost in it. So it can be hard to keep up interaction with so much going on with social media. So you kind of have to keep your audience in one place, and that can be a chat room. But these days, people are so enamored with video chat. I mean, it saves you a little carpal tunnel syndrome, right? But video chat is quite popular. Everybody Skypes. Anybody who has an iPhone does the FaceTime chat usually. If you have a smartphone, video chat's great. YouTube, people are posting videos. So it's important to have video associated with your fan interaction. So what these chat rooms do, and trust me, these aren't your run-in-the-mill chat rooms. These are great, and there's a ton of features involved. And it allows you to video broadcast. Now, you have the choice, so if you don't want a video broadcast, you don't have to. But it allows a choice for you as host and your listeners, and as well as your guests, to broadcast on a webcam. So it's basically watching your radio show. Your fans, your listeners can sit in this chat room, talk amongst each other, broadcast on a webcam, watch you broadcast on webcam. You can also have them ask questions to your guests, ask you questions. So it definitely accelerates interaction with your show and helps separate your show from the pack. We all strive to be innovative. We all strive to do something different. And with so many podcasts and sports talk radio shows out there, it's important to be not only ahead of the pack, but on top of your game. And this is the type of interaction that is exactly that. We'll be rolling it out May 1st, 2013. There's a ton of features. One of them I'm really excited about, and this, I'll just share two of them right now. The first one is, let's say you want to talk about a highlight and you find the video on YouTube. Right in the chat room, you can play that video for your entire audience. So if you're talking about devastating hockey hit you saw over the weekend, or an amazing buzzer-beating shot, and you can find that video on YouTube, you could show it right to your audience. It's great because if they haven't seen it, they can watch it while listening to you talk about it and chime in with their 2 cents. Or if they have seen it, they can talk with other fans about how great the shot is, where it ranks all time for them, etc., and so on and so forth. And another great feature is you have a smartphone that has Flash installed in it, i.e. an iPhone or a tablet, like an iPad. You can access the chat room that way. That's right, it's mobile friendly. We'll be rolling it out May 1st, 2013. I'll have more details on it. If you want more details, just stream through my Twitter timeline, find where I talk about it, click on the link, and if you want me to message you the link, feel free to ask. Feel free to ask. So that, once again, folks, that's rolling out May 1st, 2013. So be on the lookout for that. Well, before I dive right into the sports talk, I want to let you know how you can interact with me. Speaking of interaction, you can find me on Twitter at Anthony DiMoro or at SportsRantz. Remember, that's Rants spelled with a Z. You can come on over and be our fan on Facebook. We're really cool to be friends with on Facebook, so come on over and like us. And that page is at facebook.com/SportsRantz. Once again, that's Rants with a Z. We have a group on Facebook as well you are free to join. And that is at sportsrants.net, or just do a group search for Sports Rants on Facebook and request permission to join. And as always, we want you guys to come on over to sportsrants.com. Now, I get this question a lot, what is sportsrants.com? And I kind of tell people it's a little bit of a math equation here. And what it is think about it of Facebook plus Twitter plus YouTube plus sports radio plus web TV plus WordPress plus sports plus fans. So a whole bunch of these 8 factors all melded together create Sports Rants, and it's a social networking community 100% exclusively geared to sports talks and sports talk and sports fans, and also it allows you to create your own sports blog. Now don't get this confused, folks. Even if you don't blog on sportsrants.com, you can still share your content if it's sports related. And B, just because you have a blog on sportsrants.com doesn't make you a contributor to our site. We do not look for contributors. We believe in allowing sports fans to build their own brand, to have their own voice. I mean, let's face it, there's some great websites out there to contribute to, but at the end of the day, all you're doing is pretty much making money for them, driving traffic to their site. So we allow you a platform where you don't necessarily need to be a whiz at web design. You don't necessarily need to be a whiz at internet marketing, because we have it all built into our website. It's easy to use. We're backed 100% by an internet marketing and search engine optimization company, EliteRankSEO.com. We're the only sports site to do that. And also, it's a great community for no matter what you want to do. If you want to start your own sports blog, great community to go on and do it. If you want to share your content, a great community to do it. If you're waiting for us to roll out that great video chat feature, well, May 1st, come on over and be a member. Or even if you just want to connect with other sports fans and talk sports, well, join our community. It's free, it's easy, and believe me, folks, when I set out to launch SportsRants.com back in 2011, I had the vision, and I had the desire to change the sports media industry and how we talk sports for the better, and we're on that path. So we are innovation, we are the future of sports talk, so come on over, join the community, again, 100% free. Alright, our first topic of the day here, NBA playoffs. It's playoff season in the NBA. And instead of breaking down every possible matchup, who I like here, how many games each team is going to take, I am going to give you instead a favorite, my favorite from each conference, and a sleeper team. And I'm going to start out in the Western Conference. And my favorite, believe it or not, isn't Oklahoma City. It isn't San Antonio, but it's the Denver Nuggets. So why the Denver Nuggets? Well, for 2 reasons. Actually 3. I'm going to throw 3 out there. Number 1, they're the 3rd seed. So that means if they avoid the likes of the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're going to have home court advantage up into the NBA Finals. Now, why is that significant? Because no team in the NBA boasts the home record that the Denver Nuggets do. They are incredible at home. And this is a great advantage. And I think they're being slept on a little bit, but they're not my sleeper team. My sleeper team, the Golden State Warriors. Now, why are they my sleeper team? Because they can put up points fast, and they actually have a nice balance of in-the-paint offense and perimeter shooting, and I think that bodes well in the playoffs. So, my favorite is the Denver Nuggets, my sleeper team is the Golden State Warriors, and that's the Western Conference playoff scenario as far as I'm concerned. Over in the Eastern Conference, let me just say this. There's no reason the Milwaukee Bucks or any team that is below 500 should ever be in a playoff scenario. And that is what's sad about the Eastern Conference. But I'll still give you my favorite, and it's not going to shock the world. The Miami Heat are my favorite, not only to win the Eastern Conference, but to go to the NBA Finals and win another championship. Miami's just too damn good, and in the playoffs, I think they prove they can play effective team defense. They work the ball around well, and LeBron James, he's rested. He's going to go on a tear in the playoffs, and he's proven, as he did last year, that he can come up big in big games when he's needed. So the Miami Heat are my favorites headed into the Eastern Conference playoffs. Now, who's my sleeper team? The Chicago Bulls. And they're my sleeper team because I feel like a lot of people disregard them because Derrick Rose is not in the lineup at this time. But if you take a look at Chicago, who ended that long historic winning streak, or almost historic winning streak of the Miami Heat? The Chicago Bulls. And who snapped that impressive winning streak by the New York Knicks? The Chicago Bulls. So they can quote unquote bang with the heavyweights. So I think Chicago could shock the world and perhaps make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe? I don't know. I had a toss-up here between them and Indiana, but I don't think people are sleeping on Indiana anymore. I think people are going to sleep on Chicago. So in the Eastern Conference, Miami Heat's my favorite. The Chicago Bulls are my sleeper team. All right, let's shift gears and go to the NFL Draft. And it's this Thursday, and I love what the NFL did in recent years by broadcasting it on Thursday night. I think it's a great start to the NFL Draft. And it also allows teams to have more leeway to make deals. I'm not going to sit here and bore you with any mock drafts. To basically be honest, I think they're useless. I think mock drafts are absolutely useless. I do. Because we're not taking into consideration, nor do we know which teams are moving around in the draft. And that's common now. That's basically common practice with the NFL Draft, is a lot of teams will be moving around. But I will say this, number one, Luke Joeckel will go number one to the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're offensive tackle heavy draft. I will say this, being a Dolphins fan. Here's my one prediction for the draft. Being a Dolphins fan is, I think the Dolphins are going to move up. If they move up, I think they draft an offensive tackle. But if they stay put, I could see them taking Xavier Rhodes. Now, I do think if they do move up, there's a possibility they can go after D. Milliner. But I think the asking price for that pick and that jump will be a little bit too rich for Miami's blood. All right, let's move on to our spotlight. Now, most of you are aware we do have a section of SportsRantz.com called Fanfare. And what Fanfare is, it is basically your backstage pass to professional athletes and media personalities. Each of these people, these professional athletes and media folk, when they have time in their busy schedules, they blog on SportsRantz.com about their careers. We have great interaction on there. And let me tell you something, if you really like a particular player or a particular athlete, a particular media personality, you want a little bit more than 140 characters on Twitter or a little post on Facebook, well, this is the place to do it. So come on over to sportsrants.com/fanfare, and we will be connecting you with backstage passes to your favorite athletes. So go on and check out who we have over there, read their blogs, and show them support on their social media profiles as well. All right, let's move on to our next segment called Fan Mail. And this is a segment in each and every episode, the past couple of episodes, I've been asking you via Twitter to ask me a sports-related questions. I'll pick a couple random questions and answer them on the air and shout out your Twitter handle. So I'm going to reach right into the mailbag. And remember, next week, just don't forget, on Monday and Tuesday, start asking for this stuff. Just send me a sports-related question. I'll try to get to as many as I possibly can. And the good ones will make the air. And I'm not saying the ones that don't make it are bad. It's just some are a little bit more topical than others, or something I have a really deep interest in ranting about. So let's dig right in right here, and let's start. Glover_speaks asks me, would the Knicks be in better shape if they kept David Lee instead of signing Amare? Absolutely. First of all, I thought it was crazy to give Amare Stoudemire that type of money, that type of contract, considering his injury history. And considering Amari Stoudemire is usually the one option in an offense, and he's the first option usually. He was in Phoenix kind of, and you brought him to New York, but I think it was a deal the Knicks had to make. They had, at the time, they needed to make a statement that they were legit title contenders, and that they wanted to be legit title contenders. So they needed to shell out some money and make a big splash. But I wouldn't necessarily suggest David Lee would be a better option for the Knicks because of the Carmelo Anthony factor. Let's face it, let's not mince words. Carmelo Anthony is a ball hog, and while that works incredibly well in the regular season, I don't think it works well in an NBA playoff basketball. So I think no matter who you plug in, David Lee or Amari here, they'd have the same issue. That's Carmelo. But if you're asking me to pick one or the other, I'd pick David Lee. He's younger, he's better offensively, in my opinion. And he's better on the boards than Amari is. I mean, and defensively, Amari isn't a defensive stopper by any means. And plus, David Lee, a little bit cheaper. So I'll pick David Lee in that scenario, and thank you for submitting your question. All right, Exiled in NJ. Will this be a rebuilding year for the New York Jets, or will they continue their downward spiral from last year? They're going to continue their downward spiral. I'm not going to call this a rebuilding mode just yet because they're going to need to blow up everything. And in order to be in a rebuilding mode, they're going to need to shed Darrelle Revis. They're going to need to shed Mark Sanchez, a lot of those contracts on that team, including Tim Tebow. And they're also going to need to clean out their entire front office and coaching staff. Now, they got some of the front office done with the GM and some other positions filled in there, but they still have Rex Ryan as head coach there. He needs to be gone. And I don't think you can start any rebuilding process when you have a lame duck coach, which is exactly what he is this season. So I think the Jets will start their rebuilding mode next year, and they need to do so by, as I said, cutting a lot of those contracts, blowing up their coaching staff, and most importantly, stockpiling draft picks. All right, Mr. Quickslant asks me, should the NBA change the one-year draft eligibility rule, and how and why? Well, I think this is a great question, and I've actually talked about this before, but I'll reiterate because I think the idea I have is so great. Make it mandatory for these guys to complete 4 years of college and get a degree before going to the NBA. Why? Because the NBA should be a privilege. In fact, making millions of dollars for playing a game should be a privilege. If normal citizens, non-athletes like myself and most of you watching this, have to go through years of college, dump tons of money into college to get an education, to get a degree, to be able to go for high-profile, high-paying jobs like, I don't know, a doctor, a lawyer, a psychologist, or anything else where a lot of money is involved, we have to do 4 years of school. We have to do sometimes more than that. And a lot of our time is dedicated in schooling and education. So I don't think it should be different for athletes. Now, a lot of people will post the question, well, what kind of degree would an athlete take? You know what I would suggest? Why don't you create a degree if they cannot pick a specific field? Why don't you create a degree tailor-made to athletes? All right, we can start off with business management. How they can successfully run their own personal brand, which is what they will be when they become professional athletes to the next level in the pros. Teach them how to do public relations, how to properly use social media, how to properly market themselves and do deals. Teach them financing 101. This is just a slam dunk for players. Teach them how to manage money correctly so that when they're retired, they have money in the bank to take care of themselves and their families for the remainders of their lives. And also throw in their health and nutrition. A natural benefit. How they can prolong their career to make more money, and how they can keep their bodies intact, and how they can recover from injuries. Teach them this. Teach them nutrition, how to take care of their bodies, how to stretch, personal training, stuff like this. These are the things I think can not only benefit the schools, benefit NBA basketball as a game, but also benefit the players. You're going to get more seasoned players going in the NBA. You're going to get a bigger talent improvement with the NBA, because I think a lot of these players that come out, they're buried on the bench for a couple of years. you have them more starter ready when they come right out after that degree. I don't think it's ridiculous to ask. If you and I are held to the standard, so should athletes. Thank you for that question. I love talking about that. So I thank you so much for submitting that question and giving me the opportunity to talk about it on the show. All right, @stars_insider asks me, do you think the NHL announcement of 6 outdoor games takes away from the prestige of the Winter Classic? Yes, absolutely. But I love it. I think having these outdoor games is so beneficial for the NHL. It gets fans revved up. And you know, if it's at the expense of taking some prestige or a little bit of that special feel away from the Winter Classic, then so be it. This is big business for the NHL. And this is great business for a league and an entity that kind of needs to win some fans back and rebuild their fan base again. I know a lot of hockey purists and diehards out there will always stick to the sport. But for casual fans like myself and many others, may have been a little disenchanted by the recent lockout and all the money disputes. This is a great way to win them back. And it's a great way to create atmosphere and excitement for your brand. So I love it. And you know, at the expense of taking some prestige away from the Winter Classic, I think it's worth the risk. So to answer your question, yes, but I'm all for it. @Jamie Garwood asked me, what the hell? Nerlens Noel declaring he is the #1 pick in spite of the injury he suffered? Have you seen the other players coming out in the draft? I know Trey Burke just said he was coming out in the draft, but seriously, aside from a few players, there's a void of quality talent or NBA-ready talent in this draft. So no matter what, Nerlens Noel is going to be #1. He was. So I don't think the injury really would have, if he was uninjured or whatever, he's still going to be #1. Now, the NBA draft is void of a lot of starter-ready talent or even just void of talent. It's not a very deep draft, so listen, I don't have a problem with him coming out and declaring this, and I don't think he's lying. I think he's a great prospect, and he's going to be very attractive to franchises. And the franchises that will be picking that position, they're going to want somebody to mold for their future. Perfect landing spot for Nerlens Noel. It gives them time to recover a little bit. So win-win. All right, I'm going to butcher this name, so I apologize. @Gabe Trujillo asked me, do you think the D-backs can maintain this hot start and compete for the NL West crown? No. No. Wait a minute. No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's April. Nobody cares about these wins in April. I think the Atlanta Braves are on an impressive winning streak in April. I'm more impressed as the season goes on. And although it's promising for Diamondbacks fans to see this, and trust me, fans in Arizona need something to cheer about, and this is great for them, it's not going to last long. So soak it all in, enjoy it. It's not going to last. So to answer your question, no. Nope. All right, my last one comes from @NYGBleedBlue. How far can the Lakers go without Kobe? Not very far. And I don't think it's because solely of the loss of Kobe Bryant. But I think it's about the matchups they're going to get. They're either going to get the San Antonio Spurs or the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, if I'm the Lakers, I would much rather see a struggling San Antonio Spurs team than an Oklahoma City Thunder team. So, if I'm the Lakers, I'm praying I fall into that 7th seed. And I'm praying that the Spurs are my first round matchup. But I don't think Kobe Bryant will be damning to them. Simply because Kobe Bryant is very much like Carmelo Anthony. He needs the ball way too much. And is the alpha male on that team. I don't think taking him out of the lineup is going to kill him. They still have Steve Nash. They still have Dwight Howard. They still have Paul Gasol. They still have Anton Jameson. They still have Steve Blake. All very good to great players. So I think they'll find a way to win. And I think Dwight Howard will kind of carry him because he has to.